You know the smile. You have seen it 1,000 times. The gap-toothed grin, the trick that should not work, the ball that seemed to follow him around like a loyal dog. But, right now, that smile is sitting inside a prison cell in Paraguay. The man who once made the entire world feel happy is locked behind a steel door, and almost nobody can explain how he got there. His name is Ronaldo de Assis Moreira. The world only ever called him one thing: Ronaldinho. To understand how the happiest player who ever lived ended up behind bars, you have to go back past the trophies, back past the magic, back to a poor neighborhood in the south of Brazil, where a boy was already playing the game like it was a joke only he was in on. He is born in 1980 in Porto Alegre. Money is short. The streets and the cramped futsal courts are his only classroom, and on those tiny courts, with the ball pinging off walls and feet, he learns something most players never do. He learns to play for the joy of it. While other children learn how to win, he learns how to dance, how to dribble past a defender and then help him up off the floor, laughing the whole time. By the time he reaches Gremio, the scouts are already whispering about a teenager who treats the ball like it owes him a favor. Europe comes calling. In 2001, he joins Paris Saint-Germain, and France gets its first glimpse of the magic. But his time in Paris is uneven. A flash of brilliance here, a frustration there. The world does not truly meet Ronaldinho until the summer of 2002. It is the World Cup, the quarter-final, Brazil against England in Shizuoka on the 21st of June. England strike first through Michael Owen, and suddenly the favorites are wobbling. Rivaldo levels it right before halftime, and then comes the moment that turns a talented kid into a myth. A free kick, more than 35 yards from goal, out wide on the right. It looks like a hopeful cross. It is not a cross. The ball lifts, curls, dips, and floats over the head of a frozen David Seaman and into the far corner. Did he mean it? He has sworn for more than 20 years that he did. And then, minutes later, he is gone. A reckless challenge, a red card, and Ronaldinho walks off with his team down to 10 men, forced to defend a one-goal lead with their magician in the dressing room. They hold on. Brazil win 2-1. And weeks later, they win the entire tournament, their 5th World Cup, sealed with a 2-0 victory over Germany in the final. The boy who played for fun was now a world champion. The planet had found its new favorite genius. In 2003, Barcelona signed him, and this is where the legend is truly built. Because the Barcelona he joins is not the giant you know today. They are fading, trophyless for years, drifting in the shadow of Real Madrid's expensive superstars. And then, Ronaldinho walks through the door, and a sleeping club wakes up grinning. He plays a kind of football that barely looks like football at all. The no-look passes, the elastico, the ball snapping one way, then the other in a single touch. The flick over a defender's head before the poor man has even decided to move. Opponents do not just lose to him. They are made to look foolish, on camera, in front of the world. Have you ever seen an entire sport fall in love with one player at the same time? That is what happens. Kids in every country start trying his tricks in the street. The titles arrive too. Barcelona win La Liga in 2005 and again in 2006. Ronaldinho is named the best player on earth 2 years running, and in 2005, he lifts the Ballon d'Or. He even takes a shy, tiny teenager under his wing, a boy named Lionel Messi, and helps set up the youngster's very first goal for the club, passing the torch before anyone knew there was a torch to pass. And then comes the night that may be the purest moment of his entire life. The 19th of November, 2005, the Santiago Bernabeu, the home of Real Madrid, Barcelona's most hated rival, a stadium where a Barcelona player is supposed to be jeered, whistled, hunted from the first minute to the last. Ronaldinho scores twice. 2 goals so outrageous, so impossibly individual, that the unthinkable happens. The Real Madrid crowd rises to its feet. They applaud him. They applaud the enemy in the wrong shirt. The Bernabeu had done that only once before in its long, proud history, for Diego Maradona. Barcelona win 3-0, and a man wearing the colors that stadium despised stands there, cheered by the very people who came to boo him. How do you possibly climb higher than that? He manages it, briefly. In 2006, Ronaldinho lifts the Champions League with Barcelona, the crown of the European game. He has now stood at the absolute summit of football, adored by everyone, feared by everyone, copied by every child with a ball at their feet. He's 26 years old, and from a peak that high, there's only one direction left to travel. The fall is not loud. There is no single scandal, no one disaster. It is slow. It is almost quiet. The same joy that made him magic slowly begins to cost him. The nights grow longer. The training grows harder to take seriously. The body that once seemed to float starts to look heavy. The tricks still come, but less often now, and against smaller opponents who do not matter as much. And whisper by whisper, the football world starts asking a different question about Ronaldinho. Not how good is he, but what happened to him. In 2008, he leaves Barcelona for AC Milan. There are flashes, the smile, the old genius for half an hour here and there, but the spell is broken. The man who used to decide games now only decorates them. In 2011, he goes home, signing for Flamengo in Brazil. The mighty Ronaldinho, back almost where he started, chasing a feeling that keeps slipping through his fingers. And then, just when the story looks finished, he gives the world one final, glorious gift. He joins Atletico Mineiro, and in 2013, at 33 years old, written off by nearly everyone, he drags an unfashionable club all the way to the Copa Libertadores, the greatest prize in all of South American football. The final comes down to a penalty shootout against Olimpia of Paraguay. Atletico win it. Ronaldinho lifts the trophy into the night air. And with that single triumph, he becomes one of the very few players in the history of the game to have won the World Cup, the Champions League, and the Copa Libertadores. It is his crowning glory and his farewell, all at once. The old smile, one last time, standing on top of a continent. But magic cannot be summoned forever. After a spell in Mexico, after a brief and sad final chapter back home with Fluminense, the appearances simply dry up. In 2018, his retirement is announced. The greatest entertainer the sport has ever produced just stops. There is no grand farewell match worthy of what he gave. There is only a quiet ending. And then comes Paraguay. In 2020, Ronaldinho travels there and is arrested for entering the country on a falsified passport. The man who was applauded by his enemies, who broke England's heart with a flick of his boot, who woke a sleeping giant in Barcelona, is now sitting in a jail cell. He spends weeks behind bars and months more in detention after that. The photographs are almost too strange to believe. Ronaldinho, in prison, and still, somehow, smiling for the cameras. So, what really happened to him? Maybe the truth is that nothing happened to him at all. Maybe he was always the exact same man, the boy from Porto Alegre who played because it felt good, who never once learned to treat the game as a war to be won. The world demanded that he keep climbing, keep winning, keep grinding like a machine. But he was never a machine. He was a child who loved the ball. And a child who loves the ball does not know how to stop playing just because the music has changed and the lights have gone out. You know the smile. You have seen it 1,000 times. It built an empire in Barcelona. It broke England's heart in Japan. And it silenced the Santiago Bernabeu into helpless applause. And it is the very same smile that walked, blinking, into a Paraguayan jail. He never stopped playing the only way he knew how. The world just stopped being a game.